everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, November 25th, 2018, Standout Star of the Week, Tessa's teddy bear. That creature had presence. I mean, the look on his face as he was gutted, unstuffed, restuffed, and sewn back together again. Give that thing a contract, Y&R. I want to see Ted brought onto the show full-time, build him a set, maybe a tree house, bring on a love interest for him. I'm in. That was my favorite part of the entire week. Tessa the teddy bear killer. Oh, I mean, if you think about it, is what Tessa did to Ted all that different from what Sharon and the others did to JT? I think maybe not. Oh, Lord. That was so good. You know, I guess I was surprised, maybe relieved, I don't know, but Sharon was able to so very easily handle all of Mariah's questioning on Monday. It just, everything sounded so reasonable and so rational. Sharon was able to explain the details of what happened that night with JT to Mariah in a way that made Mariah understand almost instantly that it wasn't a cold-blooded murder, the picture that Tessa had painted for Mariah, that it was a situation of self-defense. And then Sharon also brought in the rest of the Margarita crew who reinforced to Mariah exactly that everything they did was completely necessary and completely justified. One by one, they all told her that they understand the severity of the situation. Nobody's under any illusions here. But each of them said they would have done the exact same thing that Nikki ended up doing. And even they go so far as to tell Mariah that if you had your own child someday, if you ever decide to have children, you'll understand what we're saying. We're all mothers. We all would have done the same as Nikki had done. We all would have tried to protect our daughter at any cost, and so would you. That part is and always has been entirely understandable to me. The fact that Nikki was protecting her daughter makes complete and total sense, but it maybe would have been nice in this moment of reflection to hear Mariah, who has always been the voice of reason, or at least she's had a long stretch of being the voice of the audience. It would have been nice maybe to hear Mariah say, okay, I get why y'all whacked him, but why the hell didn't you geniuses just go to the police right away instead of choosing to cover it up if it was such self-defense? So now Sharon's daughter, who she was trying to protect in the same way that Nikki was trying to protect her daughter, Victoria, Sharon's daughter, Sharon's child, is now brought into the fold. She is now complicit. Instantly and effortlessly, Mariah is complicit. And all of the women made it all seem, again, so rational and so reasonable. But what was not rational and reasonable was the fact that they decided it would be a good idea to send Mariah back into the line of fire, to go undercover to try to get information out of Tessa, pretend with Tessa that she's willing to get back involved in a relationship with her, only to drag information out of her about the other copies of this video and the possible location of JT's body. I could not believe that Sharon would go along with the idea to send Mariah back into this situation. I mean, for crying out loud, going undercover to get information about this JT mess has not worked out so well for Sharon herself with Ray. Why would she let Mariah do this? Not only is it a potentially physically dangerous situation if Tessa is working with some other people, as the women had speculated, but it's also an emotionally dangerous situation for Mariah. Mariah is vulnerable. She is raw. And it was just not fair. It was not fair to ask her to go do this. But of course she does it anyway. Mariah goes back to Tessa's apartment, lies to Tessa, tells her that she's there to work things out, leading Tessa to believe that she's choosing to stay true to their relationship. And Mariah also tells Tessa that she told all the women she received an anonymous tip through GC Buzz about this tape, but Mariah tells Tessa she never told the women that Tessa was the blackmailer. In fact, Mariah tells Tessa that her reasoning was she can't let these women get away with a homicide and let the woman that she loves go to jail for extortion. Wow, what a gesture of hope for their relationship, I'm sure Tessa is thinking. Tessa is, at this point, all apologies. She is willing to do anything and everything she can to make it up to Mariah, up to and including just getting rid of this bribe money. Just, give it away to charities for women and children. Women and children charities will get all the money so that we can start out clean. Let's just have a clean slate. And most importantly, Tessa hands over to Mariah the flash drive of the video footage without blinking an eye. Tessa gives this to Mariah. Wow. Mariah must be thinking, what a gesture of hope for this relationship. Oh, but no, it may be worse than it was before. Mariah knows at this point that things will never be the same with her relationship with Tessa. And in her heart, I suspect that Tessa knows that's true too. And that's why as soon as Mariah leaves to victoriously hand that flash drive over to Sharon, mission accomplished, we see Tessa pulling out her big old stuffed teddy bear, slicing him open with a pair of scissors at his back, and pulling out wads and wads of that poor creature's stuffing and replacing it with stacks of cash and an additional copy of that video footage on a different flash drive. Oh, say what I will about this Y&R twist that makes Tessa the poisoned rose villain. That scene of her cutting open that teddy bear and lifting out the stuffing, then putting it back in, grabbing her little sewing kit and whip stitching together that teddy bear. That was genius. It was well worth the price of admission. And I couldn't help but think there was something a little bit poignant about it. The innocence of a teddy bear being juxtaposed with the innocence of a new relationship. And both are being gutted open and replaced with money and lies and this videotape. Ugh. It was good. This part has been good. The next day, Tessa arrives back at the apartment with her suitcase again, and Tessa is trying so hard to put on the face of happy relationship, and so is Mariah trying to pretend that she's there to make things right when she's undercover. Mariah tells Tessa that she did hand over the flash drive that Tessa gave her to the women and that it has been destroyed. And now that was the only copy that there ever was, right, Tessa? That's the single copy, so now it's gone. Any evidence of this crime are definitely gone now, right? Oh, definitely. Definitely. Tessa has no more copies, and she has also distributed the full amount of the $230,000 to several worthy local charities who, by the way, were so happy to receive such a generous donation around the holidays. Ah! The lies. Oh, the lies. They are intriguing, I will say that. And the manipulations too. Just a few moments later, a package is delivered at the door for Tessa. And Tessa grabs it, opens it up in front of Mariah, and pulls out from the box a teddy bear that looks exactly like the one we already saw. And Tessa pulls also out of the box a Thanksgiving card, tells Mariah that this whole box is a gift from Crystal. Teddy bears are kind of their thing. That's what it is. That's why it's there. And Mariah also notes that the box was postmarked from Genoa City, which Tessa quickly explained away as being an international shipping thing because Crystal is in Canada. That part is a little bit puzzling to me. Maybe you guys can help me fill in my blank. Was that a completely different teddy bear? Was that a twin bear? Was that Ted's twin brother? Or was that the exact same bear? Like, did Tessa mail that same teddy bear to herself and then open it up in front of Mariah on purpose so that Mariah wouldn't question it being there? Victoria is newly empowered this week. She is not planning on just relying on Mariah's mission to fix the situation with Tessa. After Mariah leaves for her solo mission, Victoria declares to the other women that she got them into this mess by her relationship with JT, and she is going to get them out. Step one, when Sharon delivers the flash drive that's fresh from Mariah's hands, fresh from Tessa's hands, Victoria wastes no time grabbing a hammer and smashing that thing into bits. She had a sense of feeling that was cathartic, and I bet it really was for her. It was nice to actually see her with the hammer just like enjoying smashing that thing. But both Sharon and Victoria are very quick to note that they are not trusting that is the one and only copy of that video footage. And Victoria says she is not planning on leaving anything more up to fate. So now it's step 2 in Victoria's plan, which was the cliffhanger for Friday's show. Victoria is sitting alone in Tessa's apartment, sort of in the dark, in this great way, this great creepy, smart, villainous almost way. I loved it. Tessa is coming home from handing out meals to the homeless on Thanksgiving at Crimson Lights for the boss that she claims she can barely stand to look at. I mean, Tessa has just been going on and on about how wonderful Sharon is providing these meals to homeless people when she herself was homeless just a few months ago. At this point, it is really hard to decipher how much of what Tessa is saying is genuine and how much of it is part of the con. I am still sticking by my guns for everything I said last week, and I'm going to assume that it's still all part of the con until Y&R shows me otherwise. But I am so looking forward to, presumably, Monday to find out what that interaction between Victoria and Tessa is going to be. I am looking forward to seeing someone out-con the con. And frankly, I'm looking forward to seeing Victoria taking back some control over her life. Victoria's sitting there in the dark on Friday, clearly about ready to make a power move against Tessa. Hopefully it's a move that's going to both put Tessa into check and also give us, the audience, some more answers. I just hope that Victoria knows what she's doing, because I think that Tessa has already proven that she is not someone to be trifled with. And I worry for Mariah at this point moving forward. Does Mariah even know about this move? Because Victoria's visit will now have tipped Tessa off that Mariah has been lying to her, saying that she wants to get back together, and Tessa's gonna know it right away that Mariah is the one who told the women that she was the blackmailer. So I can only imagine that this is now going to put an end to Mariah being forced into this faux-mance. I just hope she was able to grab her suitcase and get her stuff out of Tessa's apartment before it ends up sliced into pieces. After weeks of keeping this investigation hush-hush, Ray, out of nowhere, just decides to blab out to Sharon about Victoria's slip-up during his interrogation of her, saying that Victoria pretty much knew that there was no body. And then Ray also just tells Sharon that they found no body, but they did find JT's DNA at the scene, which was leading the police to believe that there was a body there that had been moved. What was that? Was that an investigation tactic on Ray's part? Why did he just tell her that? Is he thinking that he is going to follow Sharon and find out if she fed that information back to Victoria, which she did? Or is Ray just becoming that susceptible to Sharon that he's leaking investigation information by accident? I don't know. Ray did stop by Victoria's house on Thanksgiving, though. He was looking for Victor, assuming that the patriarch of the family would be at the Thanksgiving meal. And from the previews for next week, Victor is going to be coming back. Hey, I thought it would be another month or so before we saw him. When I am wrong, I'm happy to admit that I am wrong. Victor is coming back, and I'm actually really excited to see him. I do love Victor. Genoa City just does not feel right without him. But mostly I'm excited Victor is coming back because I'm hoping that he brings with him the final pieces of this long and infuriating puzzle. Tell us, Victor, tell us, where is JT Hellstrom? Y&R has done a really great job these past 2 weeks of presenting us with a full, clear picture of the complexities within Ray and Mia's relationship and also within the Rosales family. Early in the week, Ray had a conversation with Sharon, talking to her about the fact that Mia had this big public airing of their family's private dirty laundry at the boutique party. And, you know, Ray could have used that as an opportunity to complain about his awful wife to Sharon, but he didn't do that. He instead paints this picture of Mia as not just being a one-dimensional diva brat. He tells Sharon that admittedly he wasn't perfect in their relationship, their marriage either. Ray is very aware that becoming involved with his brother's ex was a sticky situation to begin with. He knew that there were feelings there, and as their marriage progressed, he noticed that there were points where Mia was still drawn to Arturo, and Ray was just waiting for the time when they did end up having an affair, that there was this sense of dread that this was going to happen. And so Ray withdrew into himself. He pulled away from his marriage and he threw himself into work. And in every way, that's exactly what he's doing now. It's so clear. All of these patterns of behavior are still present in him. And I was really pleased to have an understanding of that Y&R really painted that backstory in a way that helped me get to know these characters a little better. It's very clear that Ray loves Mia, but he also doesn't fully trust Mia, and he's right not to trust Mia. Mia tracked Arturo down at Dark Horse early in the week, talking out of both sides of her mouth, saying to Arturo and pretty much everyone that she's genuinely there to fix her relationship with Ray, but she also can't help but acknowledge, with her hands all over him, the chemistry that she shares with Arturo. This chemistry, which, by the way, Arturo has not reciprocated at all. He's shown absolutely no signs of being interested in Mia. If there's chemistry there, then I'm not seeing it. Mia's the only one who is seeing it. So that's why I have to give big, big ups to Abby this week. She really stepped it up. She checked Mia when she saw that woman standing there at Dark Horse with her hands up on Arturo. Abby said, you know what, Mia, you are tacky and cheap, just like the moves you're trying to put on Arturo right now. I thought that was so great. This is exactly what I was asking for from Abby. Just round of applause. And then, rather than giving up on Arturo because he has a complicated past and a complicated family, Abby agrees to join him for Thanksgiving dinner. She just decides she's gonna fight for her man. I thought that was great. I thought the whole Rosales family Thanksgiving was great. I thought that the interpersonal dynamics of a family that could have been any family were very well represented there. I mean, there's love, there's memories, but there's also rifts. I, for one, can completely appreciate Abby's position as this newcomer into the Rosales family. She has all of these feelings of angst getting pulled into someone else's family drama, especially when the Abbotts have had so much of it on their own. But Abby walked into a difficult situation on that Thanksgiving day, and she was smart, and she was strong, and she was funny, and she held her own against Mia during the meal. She wasn't rude to Mia, but she was very honest, and she jumped right up into the conversation that ended up informing Ray that Mia had paid a little visit to Arturo at Dark Horse just to tell him to stay away. Let's make sure that's clear. Mia visited Arturo to tell him to stay away. Sure. They all could have busted her. Arturo could have busted her, but he didn't. I don't know why they're letting her get away with it. I don't know why somebody doesn't just have a really honest conversation with Ray about his wife. Ray knows what his wife is up to. He saw right through it in that instant. Mia is going to continue to try to find any excuse that she can to keep both of these two guys on the hook because she loves the attention. And she hates that Arturo is giving more of his attention to Abby. And she hates that her husband Ray would rather be stealing away little moments with Sharon in the corner rather than spending a miserable holiday with her. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for the Sharon-Mia fight whenever that happens. When Mia called Sharon Saint Sharon of the Flat Iron, OMG. Saint Sharon of the Flat Iron. That was so funny. That was slick and sly, and maybe you even missed that comment because it was quick. You had to have been quick and really watching that scene to even catch it. Saint Sharon of the Flat Iron. I feel so guilty. I really feel so guilty because now I'm like self-conscious that maybe Y&R has been listening to us complain about Sharon's hair. Are Nick and Phyllis a power couple or a desperate duo? That was last week's poll question. 98% of you said desperate duo Nick and Phyllis are. I'm not sure about that poll result though. That seems a little bit skewed. I don't know. We had this problem one other time where a bunch of people came out to vote and it really pushed the results in one direction. And I went back and looked, and it was I went back to look, and it was a poll that also involved Phyllis. It was about Phyllis and Billy. So I wonder if there's like some secret Y&R Bilderberger group who has an opinion about Phyllis. Maybe they look for polls, or maybe this one went out on Twitter or Facebook and a bunch of people flooded to vote. I'm not sure. It seems a little one-sided. I did vote that Nick and Phyllis are coming off more like a desperate duo than a power couple. Maybe it's just because I'm kind of sick of hearing the term power couple. Can we give that a rest? We've had 2 weeks of it. I'm not sure that the term fits, especially when, I mean, come on. We had those scenes on Monday, I think, that show us very clearly that Nick and Phyllis are not really over their exes. Nick is so not over Sharon. He's never going to be over Sharon. He is literally sitting in his office waiting for Phyllis to answer the big question that he's asked of her, do you want to move in with me? And he's in his mind remembering the previous night where he was at the party dancing with Phyllis, and then Phyllis Phyllis's body and face morph into Sharon's body and face, and he's suddenly in his mind imagining he's dancing with Sharon, then it morphs back into Phyllis. I just think you could probably plop anyone in there, and Nick's gonna want who he's not gonna have. And then at the same time, as Nick is dreaming of Sharon, Phyllis is at her office talking to Jack, who is her best friend again, by the way. Jack is now Phyllis's best friend again. 2 weeks ago, she was telling him that he had no right butting up into her personal life. Now, she's butting up into his personal life, asking him questions about his relationship with Kerry, and she's asking him his opinion on whether or not she should move in with Nick. Something is not right there, Y&R. And we are right to point it out. As was Jack right to point out that Phyllis found a clever little way to dodge his one and only question about whether or not she was actually over Billy. Phyllis found a way to not have to answer that question. Phyllis is sitting there with a really big decision on her hands when it comes to moving in with Nick. She had a conversation with Kerry, actually, where she was talking through this personal dilemma of hers without naming names. And I think that truly Phyllis is hesitant to move in with Nick for a really good reason. And I think it's because deep down she knows that it's too soon. Yet Phyllis wants to be seen in a certain light. She wants to present a certain version of herself. She wants to be seen by the world as this powerful, new business woman. And she wants to be seen by Billy as a woman who has moved on. And probably most importantly, I think Phyllis wants to see herself as someone who makes bold decisions and makes big moves and isn't afraid to jump into things, and someone who takes what she wants. I think Phyllis heard some of the insecurities that Summer was trying to plant in her mind, that she's no longer exciting, she's no longer spontaneous. And so I think Phyllis is kind of trying to fill in some of those old parts of her personality by saying yes to moving in with Nick. I mean, it's complex. There are many reasons, and also including the fact that she loves spending time with Nick. She really enjoys being intimate with Nick, and it also is probably kind of hard to say no to moving into his 6-bedroom mansion with a fully loaded kitchen and a fully loaded gym, and the study. The study. Have you seen it? It was cool to finally get a first glimpse of Nick's mansion that we've been hearing so much about. Although I can't help but feel a little sad at the idea that maybe it's kind of replacing the ranch. I mean, there was no Newman family Thanksgiving this year. That was at Victoria's house. We don't see Victor's office anymore. We have Dark Horse instead. It feels like Victor's being phased out and Nick's the new Victor, which I know needs to happen, but it still makes me a little nostalgic. Though I have to say, I think that Nick's place was very nice. I think in a lot of ways it was probably nicer than the new ranch, honestly. I mean, I like that there are basically 2 rooms, but there's this hallway behind the 2 rooms that connects them and gives this illusion maybe that it's a larger set than it is. It's sort of two rooms in one, but it was very creative and cool that there is a lit bar with this big underground sign illuminated in red behind it. That was a nice callback, and if there are any newer Y&R fans out there wondering what that sign is, it was a nod to Nick's bar that he once had that burned down twice. It took us twice burning down to get rid of that awful set, but you know, it's a nice tie-in to Nick's past and his personality that I was at least all for. I find it to be a nice, crisp, modern living space. It feels right. There was a lot of dark blues and browns and neutral colors, but there was some candles and some floral arrangements that were worked in there to warm the whole thing up. We had the LED fireplace, which is a very nice visual effect. It was overall a wonderful place to raise your children with your mistress. Nick and Phyllis, they decided to tell Christian this week that she is going to be moving in. I mean, Christian's, what, 3 years old? He's not going to throw up too much resistance to this new arrangement, but Faith is a completely different story. I don't know if anybody else got the feeling that both Phyllis and Nick were a little afraid to have that conversation or a run-in with Faith about this. Nick even said that Faith, she's part little girl and part 40-year-old. You just really kind of don't know what you're gonna get from her either. She's a bit of an enigma. Oh, well, we also saw the bedroom. I don't want to forget that. We saw the bedroom scene with Nick and Phyllis. They had a proper homecoming. You know what? I can't argue with the chemistry. I can say all day long that they are on the rebound, that they're a desperate duo, but there is some pretty good sexual chemistry there. That is what Nick and Phyllis have always had in common, and I'll give it to you. Some of you guys pointed out within the last couple of weeks that maybe Phyllis is a better match for Nick at this point in his life. If he wants to live in a big old mansion and you know, be this new version of himself, be a big old powerful businessman, then maybe Phyllis is the better woman for him, for better or for worse. I certainly do like seeing more of his sexy side. I got a new computer this week, and that's how I watch Y&R on my computer. So I was watching Y&R in maybe better, but definitely a little bit of a different quality. It felt crisper, so I was really getting some good close-ups of Nick's face, and he really is such a handsome cutie. He is both handsome and cute at the same time. He somehow pulls off both at the same time. I mean, I don't know. I probably wouldn't say no to moving into his mansion either. Oh. I think what Nick really needs, though, is to get he needs a dining room. He needs a big dining room table, and he needs to start hosting his own events and holidays. It should be, maybe the Thanksgiving holiday should have been at Nick's house instead of Victoria's. I don't know. Nick did stop by Victoria's house, though, and he breaks the news to Victoria and Nikki that Phyllis has moved in with him. I think Nikki and Victoria both actually took it harder than Faith when Nick finally privately, like without Phyllis, had to talk to his daughter about the fact that Phyllis was moving in. Faith was basically like, whatever, Dad, I don't even care. I learned the hard way not to get my hopes up about you and Mom. I didn't expect you guys to get back together in the first place, and so I'm really not surprised that you're moving Phyllis on in. I pretty much knew it was coming, so you just go ahead and knock yourself out, you crazy kids. Billy was also at Victoria's gathering to see his children, and he runs into Nick while he's there. Nick could not resist poking at Billy, hoping to shake loose some information about his relationship with Sharon, and Billy is all too happy to let Nick think that there is more going on between he and Sharon than there is. I think, though, I'm just starting to feel that maybe Billy and Sharon are, they're just a red herring, that maybe it's a togetherness that is a red herring, not just for Nick, but maybe for the viewers, too. Y&R does seem to be in the process of pumping up Victoria, trying to restore her confidence. She invited Billy over to the Thanksgiving holiday after Grandpa Victor had left. I mean, they're all expecting Victor to arrive for Thanksgiving, and Billy doesn't want to be there for that. But Victoria says, why don't you come on over after Grandpa Victor is gone, and we'll just watch some movies, have some popcorn, and chill out. So Billy and Victoria definitely do seem to be getting along, maybe slowly making some moves back together, bonding over the family that they share. I'm just thinking that maybe Y&R is trying to also use a relationship with Victoria to pump Billy back up too. I mean, he has fallen from grace. He had the gambling issue. He had the summer issue. I mean, Y&R knocked him down pretty low. They could be possibly using a relationship with Victoria to build him back up. It wouldn't be the first time that Victoria has helped him up out of a ditch. Yeah, I don't know. We've been talking a lot about Sharon and Billy the last couple of weeks. So what would you guys think about Victoria and Billy? That seems far more likely to me. I feel that we are really on the right track when it comes to Victoria. I like seeing her back in control. So to be honest with you, I don't know that going back to the ex-husband who cheated on her and who she pretty much treated like a child for the entire duration of their relationship, I'm not sure if that's a step forward for Victoria. I am grateful for what I have. My Thanksgiving is perpetual, for my wealth is not possession, but enjoyment. Isn't that lovely? I just thought that was such a wonderful moment in the Abbott family dining room. Jack was quoting one of John's favorite verses, and that really seemed like something John Abbott would say. I mean, Victor Newman missed the Newman family at Thanksgiving so that he could go and close a real estate deal in Singapore, but at least I got my Abbott family Thanksgiving, even if it was without Ashley. Ashley was not present. Jack tried. He calls Ashley, invites her to the dinner, but all she sent him in response was an email with a press release link attached, letting him know that her new product line, My Beauty, is going to be launched in the spring, and of course that it's going to be in direct competition with everything Jabot has. It's Jabot's old products now rebranded for her. Oh, what a response. I think what she responded pretty much says it all. So it's a good thing that Jack has this brand new relationship going with Jabot's new chemist, Kerry, so that he can motivate her to compete with Ashley's company. So Jack invites Kerry for Abbott family Thanksgiving dinner. That's a pretty big second date, if you ask me. He even made a little place setting with her name on it. I mean, is that hot or what? A man who does Thanksgiving crafts? He probably stayed up late the night before Thanksgiving. He was probably up till like 8 p.m. hand calligraphying her name on that little card, and then he pops it right on top of that bronze sparkle leaf placeholder. Yeah, Jack, that is sexy. Are you open to a romance for Jack and Kerry? That is our poll question for the week, Y&R Chatters. So go to yrchat.com. Let me know what you're feeling about Jack and Kerry. Do you feel like you can get into this? Is this a new couple that you think you might enjoy? Or are you kind of hoping that it's just a phase? I don't know. Kerry was most certainly able to charm her way past Miss Dina Majoron, which was not easy considering the fact that the second Dina laid eyes on her, she tried to throw her out of the house. That was awkward. Really awkward. But you know what? I'm going to give Kerry credit because she didn't let it deter her. She told Jack, you know what? Introduce me again. I'm going to try this again. And Kerry just slathered on a heaping helping of flattery. And Dina just melted like butter. By the end, she was the hero. She could have stayed overnight, I'm sure, and Dina would have been fine with it today. Kerry also seemed to make a very good impression on Tracy. Kerry was able to identify right away that Tracy is the beating heart of the Abbott family. That is so true. I don't know, for Jack and Kerry's relationship, I think I could get into it. I like the idea of Jack having kind of a sophisticated, younger woman to, you know, maybe bring him out of his fuddy-duddiness. The thing is, though, she would have him wrapped around her finger in an instant. I mean, he already is. He's already pretty much wrapped around her finger. That could be a dangerous situation for him. I mean, you know what? If Kerry puts the Smilin' Jack smile back on Smilin' Jack's face, then I couldn't be happier for him. But I can't help but be suspicious. I don't entirely trust her yet. There's just still too much to be revealed about Kerry. I mean, it was nice seeing her being a little bit more relaxed throughout the week, not only with Jack and the Abbotts, but also with Phyllis. I feel like she's starting to warm up a little bit, but part of me still wonders if maybe Kerry could be a plant for Ashley, or maybe a plant for Victor at Chabot, or I just wonder if maybe she has some kind of ulterior motive. She sure did seem to know a lot about Dina. There's something more there that we don't know yet. Maybe it's some deep secret that she's keeping sealed away, that no amount of white wine will pry out of her. I don't know. Because there's also the other part of me that thinks and believes that Y&R cast Kerry as a replacement for Hillary, and that they are following through with all of the same old storyline seeds that they were planning for Hillary. It seems to me that at the same time we're seeing Kerry and Jack, we're also seeing Devon and Nate having a very complex relationship. Sometimes it's contentious, sometimes it's friendly, and I wonder if Y&R is building that up just so they can toss Kerry right into the middle of it and let the audience watch them fight over her. We got a preview of the type of love-hate relationship that Devon and Nate could share in the future, but what we did not get, by the way, were any sightings of Neil this Thanksgiving. And it doesn't sound to me like we're going to be seeing Neil anytime soon. We learned this week that Neil has decided to move to take the apartment that's closer to where Lily is in prison so that he can spend more time with her. But it seems to me like that means Neil has been written out right alongside Lily. Why is that? I don't like it. I feel like we should be seeing him. I feel like the fans are asking for him. Where is he? Is it Kristoff's choice or is it Y&R's choice? I don't know. Well, it's Thanksgiving week, and Kane and the kids are planning to go visit Lily and join Neil at the prison. They're expecting Devon is also going to be joining them, but Devon would rather be hanging out with music scenesters. than being with his family. Devon just would rather be ultimately drinking and partying his problems away. And surprisingly, you know what? I get it. I really get it. Being with the Winters family is this constant reminder of what he's lost. Seeing Lily behind bars is this reality in your face of the consequences of everything that happened, and the fact that he was not able to save his sister, and on top of it, just having everybody always looking at him with pity. It probably grates on you after a while. I mean, who needs that constant reminder? So I could see why Devon would rather play loud music and hang out and have meaningless conversations with people rather than facing the real problems that, frankly, he's facing every day, that he's constantly surrounded by, that he can't escape. So I can understand the desire to escape. And Nate realizes that that's what he's doing right away. And of course, Nate cannot let it go. He is both Devon's family, but he's also his neighbor who is being kept up late at night with this loud party with music and people that Devon's throwing in his apartment or his penthouse. So when Nate confronts Devon, kind of trying to help him face what's really going on here, the subtext, they end up getting in a really, really ugly argument. Of course, in the cold light of the next day, Devon he comes around, he's walking through his apartment, which is now in shambles. He's looking at all of these half-eaten food containers and spilled drinks, like so disrespectful of your boss. And he picks up this shattered picture frame that contained a photo of he and Hillary in it that was just so callously broken in this wild party. And Devon just realizes, this is not me. This is not the answer. And so when Nate comes by again the next day, Devon was so apologetic, and Nate understood in a way that nobody else really can at this point. Nate also lost his fiance unexpectedly, and I was so gut-wrenched by that conversation when Devon asked Nate, do you ever worry that you're slowly forgetting her? That is such a real emotion too for anyone who's lost someone. You do become afraid that those memories are going to get more and more distant, and moving on almost feels like a betrayal. Oh, that was so hard. But I like that Y&R is exploring this, and I like that the guys were able to talk it out. I felt that those scenes between Nate and Devon were very real and very relatable and very natural. I just wonder how long that's gonna last. I wonder, which would the fans rather see? Would you rather see Nate and Devon as friends, or what do you think about seeing them as bitter rivals? Like, I could see Y&R maybe building that up as a new rivalry eventually. Some of the best rivalries start out as friendships. Look at Jill and Catherine. Well, okay, and the other element is, from the previews of next week's show, Anna arrives in Genoa City. See, this just feels like more confirmation for me that Y&R is recycling. If Kerry is going to be the replacement for Hillary, then I think Anna is the replacement for Lily. They're just giving Devon a different sister. I mean, it will still be interesting to see what Anna brings to the table. Anna, I think it's pronounced Anna. What will she bring to the table? I just hope it's not a lot of singing. There's bad in the best of us, and there's good in the worst of us. last week, Devon said that to Mariah during their heart-to-heart as he was giving advice to Mariah on what to do about Tessa. It seems like a lot of people in Mariah's life are not telling her to steer away from Tessa. Even the conversation that Mariah had with Sharon on Friday, where Sharon was encouraging Mariah to not let this situation close her off. Maybe it looks on the surface as if Mariah won't forgive Tessa, but maybe we're slowly building to her finding a way to. I don't know. There's bad in the best of us, and there's good in the worst of us. And if that's true, then I suppose maybe everybody has some sort of a redeeming quality. Well, quite a few of you guys guessed that Devon was the one who said that quote, so congratulations, Anna. That's Anna, not Anna. I'm gonna have to make sure I get that straight. My Annas and my Annas. Congratulations, Anna and Sandra and Ellen, Henry, of course, Angela, Liz, Sherry, Rose, Mary Kay, Nancy, and Juanita. You guys all guessed it right. Here's a little short one for this week. You tell me if you know who said, tenderize the meat. Feels perfect for Thanksgiving week, right? Tenderize the meat. Go to yrchat.com if you think you know who said that. And if you get it right, then I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. All right, let's get to our Thanksgiving week comments. Here's one from Gary, which is actually probably a 2-week-old comment, but I forgot to include it last week, and I was not going to forget to include it again this week. Gary says, Kerry seems perfect for Dr. Nate. Any poor damsel in Genoa City would be absolutely overpowered by him, but Kerry seems like a very assertive person. She could interact with Nate on his level. Now, Gary, I think you may have changed your opinion a little bit more as the week had gone on, but I wanted to make sure to toss that out there because at first when you said, and I started thinking about Kerry and Nate, I thought that too. Like, yeah, these two people seem similar, but then the more I thought about it, I don't know. Don't you think Kerry and Nate would be a little boring? Maybe because they're so similar. They both seem so rational and so wise. And you gotta have a little bit of a balance in a relationship. Well, on the flip side then, do you think that Kerry might even be a match for Devon? She certainly would be the opposite of Hillary. And maybe that's how Y&R is gonna justify moving Devon on. Like, oh, he's realizing that he's falling in love with someone who's nothing like Hillary, so it's not as if he's just trying to replace her. I could see Y&R going in that direction. But what if maybe the triangle is Devon and Kerry and Jack? I mean, maybe, you never know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that develops. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about Tessa and Mariah and all of this stuff. Connor believes that Tessa has got to be working with someone. I believe she came into town working with someone or a group of people. It's just too obvious, Connor says. That is the question. I would love to know if Tessa has acted alone or if she's working with someone. You have to admit, it's pretty tough to pull off the whole international banking transfer money to my offshore account thing, right? Or, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think I've gotten lost in the weeds on Tessa at this point. I'm hoping that the conversations she has with Victoria, in addition to Victor coming back into town, give us some answers, shed some light on this. Joanne has an interesting theory here saying, is Tessa possibly a future murder victim? Victoria has twice said that she'd get rid of her. See what develops. Well, I certainly never would have thought of that, Joanne. I mean, they could. They definitely could choose to get rid of Tessa that way. Oh, can you imagine Mariah's heartbreak? to be honest with ya. She does almost seem like they are trying to destroy her character. Maybe it's so that nobody feels bad if they choose to kill her. I can't imagine it would be Victoria, though. I don't think Victoria's in the business for another murder. She's still wrapping up the last one. I don't know if she's going to go through with that, but it could look like it. Maybe there could be a situation where it looks like Tessa was murdered. Oh, I don't know about another murder mystery. We'll see, as you say. Rose says, I'm so excited to see strong and devious Victoria make a return in the preview. I've missed her. For the entire time that I've watched Y&R, Victoria Newman has been my favorite character. This year has made Victoria a shadow of her former self. She fell into a relationship where she became a victim of abuse, and ever since JT's death, she's been extremely skittish and downright weird. I'm so happy to see strong and confident Victoria sitting in Tessa's apartment. Go get her, Victoria. Yes, I think Y&R is in the process of building her back up. And I also am looking forward to that too. I hope it doesn't happen lickety split, like all of a sudden she's just boom, a totally different person. I'd still like to see her acknowledge what's happened to her, but yeah, we need to start moving the character forward, or at least into a different direction. Zuberplex says, I'm getting the itch that Victoria is planning on telling Victor about Tessa in order to put her in her place. But would she risk letting another person in on the secret? And then there's a response here from Laura saying, if it was me, I would have called Victor while JT was still lukewarm. Who else but Victoria's daddy has the know-how, connections, and funds to make JT disappear for good? Also, it would be savory revenge for Victor, so he'd owe Victoria. Well, Zuberplex and Laura, this is a really great series of comments, because why didn't they bring Victor in on this from the very beginning? Was it because Victor and Nick were having problems? Nikki and Victor were having problems? Was it just a trust thing? I think you do make a good point that bringing Victor into the loop on this might actually help them. Why did they want to not tell Victor that they basically did him, or that the person that he was looking for that tried to kill him was gone? What was the benefit of not telling him? It's so far back into the past at this point that I'm just struggling to remember all of the fine details. But yeah, it's a good question. Why wasn't Victor brought in the first place? And as Zuperplex asks, is Victoria going to willingly bring him in now? Daisy asks a good question here. Does Ray know that Christine and Paul hired JT to illegally search Victor's home? Ray should be looking at Christine and Paul and not just assume that it was Victor. Yes, isn't it interesting how Ray's investigation shifted over to Victor when it was Victoria who slipped up about the body last week, and this week it's like, oh, well, maybe Victor's in on it, and he seems very focused on him when, yeah, we can't forget that Paul and Christine were the ones who put JT in there. I mean, none of this would have happened if Paul and Christine hadn't planted JT to do this illegal job. I mean, JT was a private investigator at the time. I don't think he was actually a trained police or FBI agent in any way. So yeah, they are still so liable, and that never really did get brought to light, did it? Good point. T. Nicole says, does anyone else feel that there's a hidden camera placed inside Tessa's bear? Like in the eye? I just got the feeling, because why else would Tessa want it displayed where it is? Never would have thought of that. Never would have thought about that, but it's certainly possible. And if that's the case, it would have caught Victoria walking on up into her apartment, and it would be catching whatever the conversation that will follow is. Here is a great, again, it was kind of a long comment by Heather, and I focused in on certain parts of it. But Heather makes a good point that Tessa is smart to keep lying. Mariah hasn't proven herself trustworthy either. Yes, I think you're right, Heather. Heather goes on to say, Mariah has proven a few times that she can't be trusted with big things. Tessa told her not to tell anyone why she left town to find her sister, even if she goes radio silent. And then Mariah told Sharon, Devon, Kyle. Tessa also told her that she was the blackmailer and asked her not to tell the murderers. Then Mariah told her mom and the rest of the murderers, effectively putting Tessa's life in danger. Heather says both Mariah and Tessa come from a con artist background. So it is fun to see their little game of cat and mouse, or con versus con. They're two peas in a pod in this way. Yes, also Tessa, Mariah was having that Heather, sorry. Mariah was having this conversation with Sharon at the end of Friday's show, where Mariah was remarking that she used to be a professional con, and now she doesn't find it quite so easy. So I think Y&R is trying to remind us that Mariah doesn't have quite such a squeaky clean past. And as you say, I do think that the interesting part of this story has been the cat and mouse, or the con versus con. In that way, it's still remaining to be interesting. Sandra says, Allie, wouldn't you be crazy mad if you were Mariah? I mean, not just that Sharon is involved in this ridiculous foursome cover-up, but that a murder happened in the house with Mariah there. Mariah was present in the house while a violent death took place, and she had no idea about it. Yeah, probably I might be a little bit ticked. That's another, kind of goes back to the point I was making right at the top, that it did feel like Mariah just accepted all of this. She really didn't ask any questions, and she was instantly on Sharon and the women's side. It was as if Mariah felt so betrayed by Tessa that she just jumped into the arms of the family that she knows. Like, she believes that she can trust them, and so that's why her alliance went with them. But yeah, we didn't get to see very much, if any, of Mariah processing what really happened, and the fact that she's there, and the fact that she's been questioned by police all of this time and was not able to provide any information, only because they were keeping this a secret from her. So yes, good point. Oh, okay, let's end this whole section of comments with Leslie here, because Leslie says, if there is a video in Victoria's garage, then there had to be one in the bedroom as well, and there would be footage to prove that it was self or daughter defense, and that the only crime was not reporting it. So it could just be justified as a slap on the wrist. Maybe not realistically, but it's a soap. Okay, great point. If JT had freaking cameras on his car, and he had tracker devices, and he had them in the garage, and he had it all over the house, then there would have been a camera in the bedroom. So is that footage somehow available? I also keep going back to Superplex's point a couple of weeks ago that there was probably more than one camera that Victor had too. So maybe Victor had a camera in the bedroom. I think no matter what, yes, it's so totally going to be revealed that there was a camera in the bedroom, whether it was JT's or Victor's, I don't know, but that's where I need to start setting my mind now. There had to have been a camera in the bedroom, and that somehow either caused Victor to get involved, or it's going to come to light, and either maybe, see, if there was a camera in the bedroom, it would have showed what happened, and that could either help or hurt the women, depending on what's done with it and who finds it and yada yada. Oh, Mal, get us there. I appreciate that you're listening in and incorporating the little jabs that we make about Sharon's hair, but if you're gonna be listening in, can you please get us there on this storyline in particular? That's my number one hope from you. Oh, all in good fun. Anna weighing in about Sharon and Nick here. Anna says, Sharon would never agree to live in that house with Nick Newman. The beauty of the second generation Newmans was that they didn't want to have servants. They had nannies, but they cooked their own food and they did things differently than their parents. Sharon's little cottage house represented that for Nick and Sharon. So Sharon would not be happy in a place like that at all. It's so cold and so sterile. You know what? That just really speaks to the theory that maybe Sharon and Nick just aren't a match at this point in Nick's life. If Nick wants to have the servants and the big empty house and all of the lavish lifestyle, then maybe he does need someone like Phyllis, who didn't, Phyllis didn't grow up with all those things, but she seems to be sharing those values of wanting to have that power and have that status, and that's just not who Sharon is. It never has been. Sharon has never been hungry in that way that Nick is right now, and that we've seen Phyllis be in the past and right now. So yeah, that's a good representation right there of the relationship dynamics right within the sets and the homes of the characters. Diana says, doesn't Phyllis know the saying, once a cheater, always a cheater? I just heard the other day on the news that there was a statistic that demonstrated this theory to be quite accurate. What makes Phyllis think that Nick won't cheat on her? Good point. I tell you what, Diana, why either of these women want to willingly subject themselves to this triangle again is beyond me. We've been down this road before. In fact, we've been down this road with Nick and Phyllis and Sharon for years before. Sharon was always paranoid that Nick was going to have sex with Phyllis, and Phyllis always knew that Nick's true love was Sharon. So now here we are again, different time, same place. Mary Ann notes that 2018 has provided Nick with 3 different living arrangements. Number 1, Chelsea in the penthouse. Number 2, Sharon in their former house. And now number 3, his new place with Phyllis. If he breaks up with Phyllis, who will they pair him with next? I don't know, Marianne. Maybe the maid. Ah, my Y&R friends. I think I'm on a holiday hangover. Just from food, mind you. My deviled eggs with no mayo were awful. Can I just tell you? They were beautiful, but they just don't taste the same without mayo. I don't have a problem with mayo. I just didn't want to have to buy it and then never use it again because I just don't use it regularly. And I'm not going to eat it on a sandwich. So yes, deviled eggs, gross. Pumpkin bread, amazing as always. I make it every year for the past decade or more now. But can I just tell you, the chocolate chip cheesecake was freaking amazing. It had a chocolate graham cracker crust, which I made from scratch, and then the chocolate chip cheesecake filling with chocolate chips on top. I posted a picture of it in the Watch and Chat thread on yrchat.com. The photo of the whole cheesecake itself, maybe it doesn't look that great. It's not, I'm not Betty Crocker, and it wasn't maybe photo perfect, but I don't care. That thing tasted so good. I mean, it's basically like eating, there was 3 blocks of cream cheese in that pie. So it's basically, I basically ate a block and a half of cream cheese over the past couple of days. I feel sickening. But it was worth it, and I don't care. It was 100% worth it. But now it's going to be time to get back on the wagon. I hope all of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm sure all of our refrigerators are still stuffed with leftovers. We're going to be sick of them by next week, I'm sure. But the one thing I'm never sick of is Y&R. I was so glad we got 4 episodes. I was totally wrong about which days were going to be preempted. I think I was on the internet maybe looking at a Canadian website because it was telling me that Y&R was going to be preempted on Friday, but if you think about it, Canada is a day ahead, So maybe that was a Canadian website and Canada got an episode on Thursday but not on Friday to make sure that they're still caught up, because Thanksgiving's not a holiday, like it's an American holiday. So whatever, 4 episodes is still totally okay with me, but I'm looking forward to a full 5 next week. Fingers crossed. I can't see any reason why not. So again, go to yrchat.com to leave your comments, vote in the polls, see the photos, all of the beautiful photos and great conversation. And I'll be back next Sunday to chat again about our show. Have a good week, everybody. I love ya. Bye.